Welcome back, everybody, to the Hearthstone Global Games, where we just saw a mammoth series, Finland taking down Chile 3-2, and now we move on to Canada versus Belgium. My name is Dan Gaskin, and I'm joined on the desk by Mr. Neil Bond, Lorinda. That was a long series. Are you okay? Are you all right? Do we need to take
I can
you
manage it.
anywhere,
I can do this. I can do this.
Okay, good.
Aging by that much doesn't age you that much at my age.
All right.
It's already all been
Fantastic.
done.
As long as your heart's still pumping.
Hanging in there,
we can
we're
keep
good.
going. All right, then. Belgium versus Canada. Any initial thoughts, any favourites that you think going into this?
I think that Canada have got an incredibly strong lineup looking at this. Sidonia, APX Void, Hot Form and Purple, all very well known. APX Void not going to be with the team for all of it, but I'll discuss that in a moment. The Maverick team, Belgium team, Maverick, Oliech, Chinois and Arnie J. Sidonia will be playing one of the games for APX Void because APX Void let us know that he wouldn't be able to make this match. As it happens, he is at an airport waiting to board a flight somewhere, and he will be with the team right to the last second because that's how much he wants to be a part of this.
Not bad to have someone who finished top 8 in the Hearthstone World Championships in 2016 as well, just to be covering your games as we now look across the beautiful sights of Belgium. And I've got some interesting facts on Belgium. Did you know that they are second tallest country in the world?
How can a country be tall?
Well, just on average.
What, you mean the people?
Yeah, they're 5'11"
tall country
on average, the males of Belgium. And then in Canada, they're the most educated country in the world.
Oh, are they now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Over 50% went through secondary school education, which apparently is more than any other country.
It's definitely more than the UK.
I wonder whether that helps in Hearthstone or not.
It'll probably help them. I mean, they've got a pretty damn good lineup when you look at that team. One of the teams that people are saying is good, but I think they might be underestimating good. This team, if they can manage to communicate well, I think this team could go all the way.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you look at some of the achievements from these players, and it's hard to ignore how strong this Canadian lineup is. Let's have a look at the decks that they are all bringing. You can see Belgium on your left and Canada on your right. Each player brings 2 classes, of course, then they have to pick between the 2 when they come into their game. And then, of course, we will have the ace match as well, where a second player will be able to bring another deck that they can choose from if it comes down to a best of 5. We might get there, we might get to another best of 5, but if we've got my luck that I had earlier, I kind of went for a 3-0 as a really fast-paced series. And
I enjoyed 5 matches, though. But
I mean, it looked like you enjoyed it. It was an absolute phenomenal one, and it was definitely a spectacle for all Hearthstone fans,
just
to be honest.
Repeat again there, Sidonia is playing twice because he's playing for APX Void, as I've said, who has got a flight to catch, but Apex Void, you heard Cufton was on chat for all of the Finland game. Apex Void will try and do the same, but there's a chance that he cannot. And like I say, everything's been proven in advance, so it's fine.
Game number 1, Oliech versus Sidonia, and it is going to be a Mage versus Paladin as well. I wonder whether we're going to get the slobber knocker games that we just had in the previous series. Mage versus Paladin. Where did the slobber knocker come from as well? I think you might kind of know.
I have never watched any JR.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you've got the wrestling reference as well. But Paladin versus Mage then, what do you think we're going to see based off today's decks that we've been bringing, or the players have been bringing so far?
There's going to be Murlocs in one of the decks.
No, what in the Mage deck? Yeah,
might be
so.
Murloc Mage
Yeah.
and Freeze Paladin. Okay, so the Paladin deck will have Murlocs. It's just a case of how many, whereas the Mage deck will have Freeze spells, and that's a case of how many.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Murloc Paladin has just grown with popularity, as we've discussed several times. It's just going to be which variant they're going to bring. We've seen the aggressive Murloc variant being brought twice. I think that was defeated twice as well. And then we've seen the mid-range performing a lot better, to be honest, than I expected originally. I was thinking the aggressive Murloc was going to be a lot more successful, but it seems like the mid-range Paladin just has a little bit more consistency when it comes to some of these matchups.
Yeah, and it's not often you get a mid-range deck that really seems to have the exact perfect balance so it can beat anything. They usually tilt slightly one way or the other, but mid-range Paladin really seems to have all the bases covered.
Looking at this, I'd like to think this is actually the aggressive variant. The aggressive variant has been running the Stampeding Kodo. I don't know if it's just for the mirror, just to try and get rid of that Finger, but it also works as a brilliant taunt removal as well, if, for example, you're up against a Quest Warrior. But they aren't going to be. They are going to be going up against the Mage of Belgium here.
And yeah, nothing absolutely certain, but looks like Freeze Mage. To me, it could be mid-range as well, because sometimes they play the Curator and the Kodo acts as your only beast. So this is a very who knows hand right now. Interesting to see. And that's how versatile this is. You can build it either way. Canada are discussing at length how to go about mulliganing this. Maybe they're wondering about whether to get rid of the Kodo because their curve is so good, coining on turn 1, Hydrologist, turn 2 Hunter, and they're actually going to just try and find a better turn 3.
Well, that's the thing. The Stonehill Defender there would actually suggest, yes, this is the mid-range variant rather than the aggressive variant, and both have the opportunity to just run out of control early on if you do get the perfect curve. However, when you're up against Freeze Mage and they are able to delay so successfully, you have to really have a game plan as to how much you're going to be putting onto the board, how much you're going to be committing to try and damage the face, because you don't want to overcommit and then be punished by something like a Flame Strike will just absolutely be detrimental to your
They
ability.
may take Eye for an Eye, just going to interrupt you, because if you do proc the Freeze Mage's block, yeah, Eye for an Eye means they cannot kill you if you proc it on 1, because they will kill themselves through their own block. Secrets, of course, only work in your opponent's turn.
And that might be a read that Belgium will notice. If they see the secret's been taken here and then it's not played for a long time, they'll be saying, okay, there is an Eye for an Eye very likely in this hand here.
So this is a pretty good start, though, getting those secrets out of the deck, and next turn we'll be doing the same. Meanwhile, the Murlocs start Murlocking away and buffing each other up and doing whatever Murlocs do.
So Rockpool Hunter, the obvious decision, you're going to buff him up to 3/3. Do you trade or do you go face? I'm thinking I kind of like just going face here, but then I'm wondering about what other punishes that might come.
I mean, one of the punishes just the 2/3 hitting you in the face. You've got plenty of healing later, but the mage does like to do the chip damage. I think you go face with this, but definitely stopping the mage from getting chip damage is a thing you can do, especially when the trade is free. They're definitely not going to want to ping a 3/1 and waste a whole 3 mana doing it, but yeah, gonna go face because why not?
Yeah, I think you force them to make that decision, that if they want the trade, they can have it. Maniv's Valley off the top isn't going to work with no secret in play at the moment, but it might come into effect a little bit later on. You could play another Arcanologist just to draw, get a little bit more in your hand as well.
Now, the small punish here by going face, if they want it, is that Belgium have the option to take the free kill on the Rockpool Hunter. Again, it costs 3 mana for the ping. It's not fun, but it is a way of removing the minion without using any resources whatsoever. And at the moment, Canada, Sidonia, they have no way of just killing off the Arcanologist if needed. But yeah, correctly making the read that, you know what, just don't want to waste time pinging because there's just not that much time against this deck.
No time. Time is of the essence. It would be said for the Freeze Mage. So they will actually just trade in, make that Hunter a 2/1, or the Rockpool Hunter, should I say. But Stonehill Defender seems like the obvious choice here for Sidonia, and I mean, there's a lot of fantastic targets that you can get, of course. We've touched on it a few times throughout this broadcast. Tyrion is something that you can always pick up. The Curator seems like a decent draw as well, because you'll be able to bring that a couple of Murlocs out, or one
And
Murloc.
actually the Protector's not that bad either, because it just protects you against stuff like Flame Strike, for instance. But they would have liked a 5 or a 6 drop here just to fill in their curve nicely. This is not the options they really wanted to be offered, especially with the Beast already in their hands, so the Curator's kind of wasted.
Yeah, we'll just get one
to some
draw.
degree.
Yeah,
Just get
it's
Murloc.
just one.
You probably take
measly
the
Murloc.
Curator to get the Murloc out. Measly Murloc.
Yeah, they don't feel so good when they're on their own, but
That
when
sounds
they're
like
an
something
army,
that should be on the wheel at the start of the game.
yeah,
Your opponent is
your
measly
opponent is a
Murloc.
measly Murloc, and at the moment those Murlocs are more than measly, as they are kind of building with force, and that's why we've seen taking decisions like Hungry Crab just to try and shut them down nice and early. But there's not going to be anything of the sort in this Freeze Mage deck. Instead, they are just going to be looking to stall as long as possible and then use that burst damage to finish this game off.
Yeah, no secrefied at the moment, so Medivh's Valet not going to be able to do the things it would like to, which is set fire to stuff.
Not really a good job by a Valet, is it?
Not the best Valet you've ever had, but then didn't that whole party just have problems from start to finish?
Did have a lot of problems, to be honest.
I wouldn't go to that party again.
Cheeky Mediv setting up horrible parties.
Yeah?
Arcane Intellect will come through, though, just to draw a little bit more. It is going to be effectively a dead turn, but Belgium are more than happy just to play the patient game. I'm not entirely surprised, because that's usually the game you have to play when you are a Freeze Mage.
It does mean that next turn, Canada are going to be able to play the Gentle Megasaur if they want. They've also got the option for this this weird-looking consecration that actually might be better than it looks because it forces through all this damage. And when are you going to use it later? But you want to use it to just win the game. So Megasaur makes more sense. Lots of very good options here.
+3 attack seems like a pretty solid option as well.
So that's 9 to the face is +3 attack. That's basically how that functions here. Summon 2 plants means there's more damage coming later, but not enough. Yeah, just 9 you in the face. Oh, sorry, 6, because turns out that not everything in this deck is a Murloc.
But they will just continue to smash the face of Belgium now. And I like that decision because they don't have any more Murlocs in their hand. They're thinking, when are we really going to get value out of this Megasaur? So they play it nice and early, and now they force an answer out of Belgium as well. They need to immediately stop this damage. Of course, there is a Frost Nova in hand that can just stall ever so slightly, but no Doomsayer to pair up with it to try and remove that board.
Yeah, and it will buy them time to do the double ping, of course, which maybe you think they're doing, but while they're pinging, they're not drawing, and while they're not drawing, stuff's not happening. And maybe they play the ice block and the valet and shoot down the 6-1 that way.
I suppose Stampeding Kodo
Or the ice barrier and the valet.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
So it buys you another turn, basically.
The Stampeding Kodo is going to be fantastic against Doomsayer as well, if they get a chance to use it that way. If they don't draw anything significant, they may have to just play the Kodo as the base minion that it is.
So, yeah, I agree. Otherwise, they may just kill on the Doomsayer, like you say. If they don't barrier now, when do they? There's 16 armor available from these 2 barriers if they use them soon. But if the Murlocs get too big, suddenly 8 points of heal just doesn't do anything. So they're trying to get these barriers used while they can.
Suddenly, Stampeding Kodo will get some value and allow them to just put more damage and get through that barrier nice and easily. It's going to be 11 damage going to the face.
Yeah, put down
away
to
8.
11.
So essentially they're doing 3 damage if you take away the ice barrier, but I think the important factor here is that Stampeding Kodo is actually going to do something rather than just be a minion placed on the board.
Yeah, as long as they're going to... They may want to hold on... Well, they will want to hold on to it, but their hand might not let them hold on to it. In terms of, it is so good against Frost Nova Doomguard.
Doomguard?
That'd be really good.
It would be amazing.
Freeze your board, hit you for 5, but yeah. Doomsayer.
It's alright, I'll let you off. You just had like a 2.5 hour
Sometimes
series.
I forget things.
That's probably your age coming into play, that's okay.
That's the ancient mage quote.
But now, as we said, the damage is just coming through. And actually, it looks like Sidonia and Canada are considering not playing the Kodo here because of the value, as you said, on the Doomsayer.
The Doomsayer. The problem here is if they trade, everything's on 2, and Blizzard would be a bad thing. So they're going to use the Consecration.
I guess why not? You've got 2 in hand.
Yep.
Yeah. What minions are you really going to be targeting with it? It's more damage that's going to the face of Belgium as well. You've still got 1 in hand later, just in case you need to get, for example, 1 damage through a full frozen board that you might have.
Cheeky Blizzard comes to hand, which will begin the process of not dying whilst trying to win.
What makes a Blizzard cheeky? Is it a bit like a cheeky dance?
It's like a joke you get in a cracker.
No, I'm not.
Like...
I'm just wondering what makes it cheeky.
I'll think of an answer for that.
Okay,
for another week.
Nothing then. Maybe just because it's golden and they've pulled it off the top of their deck. I guess you could just play the Blizzard here. It's another stall mechanic. And we've already seen that Sidonia don't really have any minions to drop, or at least Belgium might be thinking that with the Consecration coming out.
Snowfear?
I like it. Yep. Okay, I'm with you.
Took me a while, guys. Took me a while.
Options then for Belgium. What would you do?
Blizzard is a decent option here because kills off that 5-1 without missing a step, protects your... Whenever you use your big spells, it means that later on when you're trying to fit things in with your Antonidas, then you can use your small ones. Using up a Fireball, that's interesting because this deck doesn't tend to have that much in the way of direct damage. Vine Cleaver harks back to like when Strifecrow was playing this deck 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he had that in his deck, and it can be really irritating.
Very irritating, especially against a freeze mage that typically tries to freeze and then remove, and that's going to be constant damage coming through, constant pesky minions that you need to get rid of as well. So a really nice inclusion from Canada. I don't know if it's included to beat Freeze Mage. It might just be a little bit fortunate, but as you said, it was something that was tested out a lot during the release of Ungoro, then it kind of fell out of favour, and now it seems like a few people are throwing it back in as well.
And how sad is this? There's so many good targets in the Freeze Mage deck. One of them might be coming down now with the Acolyte of Pain, for instance. But the Kodo just has to come down to keep some pressure up because it's never going to get played because of all these 7-drops.
Yeah, of course, they did find one Curator earlier from the Stonehill Defender. That's why they've got 2 in hand. And I mean, the Curator on turn 7, of course, isn't a bad turn, but as you said previously, the Stampeding Kodo is the only beast run in the deck for that reason, just to kind of draw effectively, but they'll still get a Murloc to work with. And actually, for a Murloc deck, they haven't seen a lot of Murlocs this game so far.
They have not, apart from ones they've got on their hero power now, but they really haven't drawn that many. The deck tends to be more consistent than that, but they did get unlucky with the Stonehill Defender. The options were Grim, because the Grunt just dies to Blizzard, and the other 2 are 7-drops.
Grim Grunt. That's probably going to be a name of a new card at one point.
Do it, guys. Grim Grunt.
There we go, you heard it first. Claiming copyright.
Done.
Cone of Cold is the decision chosen as well from Belgium and Oleg, and now that's when the Ice Block is going to come into effect. And just dropping a Thanos as well. I think that they just want to just get as much card draw as possible here. They don't think that the Thanos spell damage is going to be particularly important.
Right. And getting everything out of these ice barriers is really going to help Belgium here. Again, they had the option to just ignore that earlier, and it would have just led to disaster, and the ice barriers would have sat in hand the whole game.
So it's just more kind of pesky armor that Canada have to try and break through. They did check for it first, and now they can start playing this Vine Cleaver, and they will of course be able to hit for 4 every single turn, but the important factor here is just summoning those 2 1/1 Silver Hand recruits. Is going to be something that Belgium have to deal with. There's Alexstrasza as well. That's
and
what
a
Belgium
fireball.
needed. That is exactly what they needed.
And now they can start trying to set up winning the game. Of course, Canada could have and will have Ragnaros Lightlord in their deck. There's also a very strong chance they have Lay on Hands. Some people drop it, but not many. And Belgium, it's not quite as simple as just dropping Alexstrasza and then winning over 2 turns these days, because you do have to factor in that huge amount of potential healing. They also have to factor in the fact that the longer the game goes, the more chance that healing's in the hand of Sidonia.
They also really want to be playing this Ice Block as well. I mean, I was tempted to go down some sort of play with Frost Nova and Acolyte and Ping, just because then you've got something on board that can add to the damage after you've played Alexstrasza that helps combo with damage from the Fireballs, late Fireball and Pyroblast later over across a couple of turns. However, you are worried about...
How about you Ice Block, you Cone of Cold the minions on the left, and then you drop an Acolyte or something along those lines. Yeah, this ping actually does means the Cone of Cold is coming, because you then freeze everything. You can drop the Ice Block. Okay, they've frozen it with that anyway. They don't, and then...
This was where I was going. I was saying, what are you worried about? Where is the damage gonna come from? Where are they going to find extra damage? I mean, Dino Size is a card that exists, but all the minions are frozen anyway, so that's not going to happen. Of course, they have got a Consecration. They can get 6 damage out now, if they so please.
The Ice Block is no good, because they know for 99% sure there's an eye for an eye in the opposing hand. So you can't just rely on Ice Block like you could in the good old days, before Eye for an Eye was printed. Hang on. Before Hydrologist was printed, because Eye for an Eye has been around forever, but not worth putting in your deck.
So at what point do you play it if you're Canada here with the
when the Ice Block's down to, when you're down to 1 with an Ice Block, you just plop it on the board and say, haha,
you don't want to play it prematurely, do you? That's the... They could play it on a mana curve here. If they're going to drop Curator, they may be tempted.
But then your opponent just ping you in the face, because they know what it is, so you've got to get it down to 1. And that's why the previous play would not have worked. Makes the Ice Block really awkward to play, and it means that Belgium have got a lot of trouble.
The menagerie is for guests only.
One Curator will come down just to draw some cards here. Of course, the Drake and the Wall Leader. No Beast, though, because the Kodo has already been played. And there's a little bit more damage, but as we said, this is very awkward for Belgium, because they know full well that there is, or they should know full well that there is still a secret in Sidonia's hands. And if it's been kept for that long, it's probably over.
How do you ever play your Alexstrasza here? Everything that freezes costs more than 1 mana, because that's how numbers work, unless you get a glyph. Your Ice Block doesn't stop you from dying, because you know there's an eye for an eye. I mean, at some point, and that point is getting close, you have to say, you know what? if it's eye for an eye, we've lost, even though we know it's eye for an eye.
So the options here for Belgium is to either Blizzard and play Ice Block, because, I mean, what else are you going to do? Maybe Frost Nova, then play Ice Block, then ping the Acolyte as well, just to search for a little bit more, to search for some answers. But I'm not sure those answers will be coming, to be honest, Neil. Because even with Blizzard and Ice Block, we can see there's already 4 damage from face, and of course there's the Consecration as well that can pop the Ice Block. Unless the Frostbolt comes out to freeze face as well, this is a really sticky situation for Oleg in Belgium.
There's another ice block, but it's just as useful as the first one. It's like chocolate teapot.
No one wants one of those. Actually, I kind of would, just for the like sheer glorious taste of it. But there we have it. That is going to be 6 damage possible to the face from Canada here.
Right, it will proc the block on 2, but that doesn't matter too much because they're not going to die next turn. Then they can do 1 more damage.
Yep.
But it will use up their last direct damage, so maybe they don't want to do that.
Well, I guess in theory they might not be able to do 1 more damage next turn if the board was frozen.
Right,
again.
so they need to find a way of getting 1 damage, and that might not be as trivial as it looks. Perhaps that's what they're worrying about.
I mean, immediately when you look at this board, you think, oh god, yeah, you pop the block. Why wouldn't you pop the block? But
don't want to proc
yeah,
it
you
on
don't want to proc
2.
it on
doesn't
2.
It's just not much difference to procking it on 1 to procking it on 6.
And
you know what I say.
Those choices aren't particularly fantastic for that one lonely Murloc.
So this makes them have another block. It's procced, it makes them have another block. If they haven't got another block, you just win. Probably. But it's not ideal, and Cydonia is shuffling slightly awkwardly because he knows it's not ideal. But there's still this question, how do you not die here? You put up your second block, you Frost Nova because you've just drawn 1.
The point is, it's near impossible for Belgium to get Alexstrasza down at any point without just dying.
Right.
And that is pretty much their only win condition that I can see in hand right now.
Yeah, well, without the block going on 1. The block.
Like
and
block.
I can't see how they can do this now.
No, it's going to be extremely difficult, but they can put Canada in a position where they cannot deal that 1 damage that they really want. Well, they can't deal 2 damage to finish them off, so I suppose you may not even need to play your Ice Block.
You've seen both Consecrations, and you've seen... Have you seen both? You've seen 1 True Silver? Seen the Vine weapon as well?
So I guess you could just Frost Nova here, and then you could put the Frostbolt to face, as well as a Fireball, and you just go down that route of play, and you say,
play the block.
We've got a couple of freezes, maybe we can just draw enough burst damage to win this game. It's a long shot, but it might be the only shot they've got.
Right, so they are going to go down this route, set up the next block. They can afford to Frostbolt face if they want to. They're not going to, though. Oh, they're going to get rid of the 1/1s. Yeah, ping the 1/1s to try and stop the block going at 1. Would have been a thing they could do there.
I wouldn't have liked them to ping a 1/1 because then they would have left a spot open on the board.
You realise it's just dawned on me because I'm clever like that Blizzard gets rid of all the things that can do 1 damage.
God, you're so smart. Where do you get all your wealth of knowledge? eBay? Sottle.
Unfortunately, he can't teach me everything. Okay, so Blizzard does get rid of all of the things that can do 1 damage. You can put up the block, but the block's up, right?
Yeah, block is up.
The block is up. But that doesn't really do anything, actually. I'm just thinking around eye for an eye, on top of the other million problems that there are going on here. You've got to address them 1 at a time, and there seems to be too many. Maybe you glyph into another block is the way, and then you can play Alexstrasza and block number 50 all on the same turn.
Essentially, Belgium need to put themselves in a position where they can finish off Canada by using their ping. Because it may come to the point where they are on 2 health still because they've managed to freeze the board so successfully.
Yes.
Then the eye for an eye comes down as like a panic decision, thinking, well, they might have to use a Frostbolt to finish us off. So somehow Belgium need to find a way to mathematically plant all of their damage.
How it would work if, let's forget there's not other reasons. You want to Alexstrasza, then you want to ping face and Fireball, and then the next turn you want to Pyroblast. That's what you want to do. You ping the face for 1, you take 1 back, you Fireball, you set up the lethal for the turn after. But there are other reasons why that is not easy right now.
Not the best choices as well. Cabela's Tomb, of course, will allow you to keep searching for more answers as they now continue just to use that hero power to start chipping away at Canada's life total, a very healthy life total. But speaking of life totals, there is Ragnaros the Light Lord to heal things up. Of course, it can heal minions as well, so it's not going to immediately heal the face, but that could be very important later on once Alexstrasza has possibly
You can
down.
cheat. You can't cheat because you get disqualified, but you can kind of cheat with equality in this situation at some point. If you play equality, all the minions have a maximum of health of 1, and then you can heal your face. You wouldn't want to now, but later on, if required, you can gain 8 health that way.
Instead, Canada are just going to continue searching. Abomination could be a very interesting decision.
How on earth do they ever get rid of it?
That's such a good pickup for Canada.
Yeah,
Just
and
play
they
it. You put it on the board. You say, okay, if you want to kill it, you're dead. So they've got Eye for an Eye and they've got Abomination. 2 tools that Freeze Mage just never want to see.
Yeah, it's just right. Let's just start stacking our deck with these cards, boys.
If Freeze Mage went to bed and had a little sleep, their nightmares would be consisted of Eye for an Eye and Abominations.
I think my nightmares are consistent of those cards already, to be fair. Eye for an Eye sounds pretty terrifying, and Abomination is just not something anyone wants to meet. Especially in bed.
Interesting, but Cabala's Tomb now, perhaps an opportunity for Belgium to look for something here. They don't have the damage in hand to just drop Alexstrasza and brave it in case it wasn't an Eye for an Eye. Because, I mean, it could be a bluff.
Another Frost Nova, by the way.
It could be a bluff from Canada. That's something that Belgium will be
at some point, Belgium have to go, we're 1%. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised, actually, they haven't already, but they're still hanging in there. Get another Frost Nova from the Cabala's Tomb, which is a tome, but, you know, I don't like to embarrass you in public.
What did I say?
A tomb.
Oh, is it Tome?
It's a book.
I mean, the Cabala's Tomb sounds more exciting, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I haven't corrected. I never would.
I'm glad.
Embarrass you on air, it would be fair.
I'd hate that, to be fair.
Yeah,
I'd probably go home
to you.
and cry.
I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Anyway, so 28. And they've still got the equality Ragnaros combo to go back to 23. Even if all their worst nightmares that don't consist of abominations, because for some reason for Canada this is a dream, should come true.
So could you play the... Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. Could you play the Abomination?
I would never do that.
Play the Abomination and then play Equality, and then next turn you could play the Drake just to finish off the Abomination.
You could do that. It would proc the block. But you still need to find a way to do 2 damage.
But then you proc the block.
You could, Eye for an Eye, let them ping you and then do your play. And then it'd proc on 1. And then,
so you...
But then you have to kill them. Yes, that doesn't work either. Hello. Let's just go back to the start of this game and think forwards.
I'm just trying to think of the quickest way for Canada to try and finish this off.
Do they need to finish it quickly? I guess at some point they have to finish it. I'm not sure they're in a hurry. The idea being that eventually your opponents run out of ways to freeze this board, but that might be a while yet.
Yeah, instead Sidonia is just going to put as much as he can on the board, just in case there are no freezes. We know there are, Neil.
There's always
There's
freezes.
plenty of freezes.
But they have got Canada down to 28. Sometimes you've got to be
It's a
thankful for
start.
small victories in life.
Instead, they'll draw for more. Acolyte of Pain also offers more drawing ability, but at one point, they're just going to start running out of cards.
I'm not quite sure what they're trying to find.
They've got 6 cards
I
remaining
feel like I
in the
should
deck.
be sure. Maybe they're looking for Fireball, Frostbolt, but they've already used a Fireball. Yeah, they're trying to win it over 1 turn at some point, but...
I imagine that Belgium are having very similar conversations to what we are. Is that an Eye for an Eye? How do we get through it? How do we even possibly win this game?
How do you say Cabala's Tome?
Imagine. That would be a great discussion to be having. Instead, they're just going to keep freezing. They're going to play the Doomsayer, and they're going to do what they can. They're just stalling, maybe not to try and win the game, but just try and work out what they can possibly do, what their outs are.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to concede.
Exactly.
Something might go good.
Okay, now the Abomination will come through, and, well, there we have it. That's game. Because the Doomsayer was on the board. Just play an Abomination, easy victory for you. Who would have thought an Abomination would be in the opposition hand when you played the Doomsayer?
I wouldn't.
I would,
because I could see it.
It was inevitable but Canada do finally get there
with an abomination,
of all
blown up
cards.
by a Doomsayer.
They did, and now Belgium will never know if that was an eye for an eye they took from the Hydra.
They will, because they'll watch the VOD.
They should watch the VOD, because
they definitely should. Everyone should watch all the VODs.
And watch and research and prepare. But now Canada are 1-0 up against Belgium after a long-fought game. A game that, as I said, it was kind of won for a while when they had the abomination. They had an eye for an eye. It was just a matter of getting it done. Oleg will get a victory.
It is interesting that Belgium didn't even... They felt that they had an out that wasn't just go for it now.
Yeah, Sidonia gets the victory, and now we move on to game number 2. Arnij versus Purple. It's going to be Warrior versus Hunter here. And we haven't seen any Hunter today. Neil, did you see any yesterday? How much Hunter did you see?
I don't remember seeing any. I'm pretty sure we must have seen some.
I mean, there was a point where everyone was saying, oh, we think mid-range Hunter is kind of top tier again. Yeah. And then recently it seems like it's fallen out of favour. Maybe it's on ladder, it's still very popular, but it certainly seems in tournament play, it's been kind of used as maybe an ace deck. We've seen it being chosen as an ace deck.
Which is always a sign that people don't like it. But I think the thing is with the Hunter, whilst the Paladin mid-range kind of covers everything, the Hunter kind of misses everything. It can lose to anything. It can definitely beat the control decks pretty well, but it does struggle against the aggro decks to some degree.
So we've got Arnij versus Purple, then we look at some of the history from these players. Purple, of course, did fantastically back in the 2015 HWC. Yep. The America Championships, he won those. But then on the other side, we've got Arnij. He's finished top 8 and top 16 in the PGL Winter 2015 and 2016. So he definitely has some accolades behind him as well, and should be able to put up a very good fight against Purple here.
Yeah, and Purple is often one of these driving forces behind the scenes. He does a lot of work with other players who are going to tournaments who... almost as a coaching role a lot of the time as well, where he'll help them build their decks, he'll discuss stuff with them. He does a lot of work with Frozen, or did before the America's Championships, where he basically Frozen beat him with a deck that Purple convinced him to play that was bad. Well, it wasn't bad, but it was Water Rogue. Back when Water Rogue wasn't a thing.
I mean, Water Rogue came into play for a little bit, but
basically Purple trolled him into playing at the Championship, and Frozen went and won with it, so that would teach you to troll.
Here we go then, game number 2. As we said, Canada playing Hunter, Belgium with the Warrior. It's the Quest Warrior against the mid-range Hunter, and Black Knight is one of the tech-in decisions from Canada. It's something that was teched in quite a lot by Hunters during the early days of Unguro for this matchup.
Right, I was going to say, what do you think it was teched in for? Yep, this matchup killing annoying taunt minions. And you know what else kills annoying taunt minions?
Savannah High Mains?
They kill annoying taunt minions.
And then they drop off some like pesky little tutus as well. Some scavenging hyenas just to finish off the business. But they will, of course, chuck those high-end mana costing cars away and go for an early curve instead. And an early curve they are rewarded with.
Yeah, not exactly sure what they're playing against for certain here, so choosing to chuck it away. You can keep the high main if you know it's Quest Warrior. You might not. It's a decision you have to think about. Also, the Quest Warrior doing the same thing, throwing away the quest. And that's also... it's probably correct, but it's also a slightly borderline call, because if it's a slower Hunter, your quest can come to play, but if it's a quick Hunter, you definitely don't want it. So throwing away the quest is correct, I believe.
I mean, by now, most teams should know what kind of Hunter they're going to be facing. The mid-range has definitely been the more popular variant. However, we've seen some crazy teching decisions coming through from teams today, so you definitely
have to consider... Well, there's a Black Knight on the table.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's teching as it is, but
right.
You've definitely got to consider...
That's
definitely got to consider that it could be Face Hunter as well.
Yep. No Scavenging Hyena here, so Grandmother absolutely perfect, because it defends these cute little kitties from whirlwind effects. And if you want a whirlwind, sure, we'll have a big bad wolf to defend the cats with.
It's always a good decision. Have wolves to defend cats.
Sounds like it would work absolutely fine. I might try it at home.
Now, Dirty Rat could actually be a very risky card to play, as it always is. But if it was to pull something like a Black Knight, then it could be a very rewarding play.
But if it was to pull something like a Savannah High Main,
then you just you scroll to the bottom right, you click concede,
and off you go.
And off you go. We move on to game number 3. That's absolutely fine.
Don't think they play it, especially with no quest. It's not even a reason to go for it. So interesting here. Purple seriously considering playing the Alley Cat. Maybe he's decided there was no whirlwind effect, as he feels they would have played it last turn. He may end up being really disappointed here, because now the whirlwind is just fine. Or maybe feels that if there is a whirlwind effect, he doesn't mind too much, because he can just get the bow going, or he's likely to draw something he can play.
I think the whirlwind effect is always going to hurt regardless. I mean, if you've got 4 1-1s on the board and they're going to be consecutively just putting 1 damage into the face of your opponent, when they just get removed, it is pretty annoying, but you always do expect it.
Both the players involved in a lot of chat with their teams here. As I say, Canada discussing with APX Void until he gets on his plane. Meanwhile, Belgium dealing with a full team.
Of course, if this is your first time watching the global games and you are watching the players and you're thinking, they've gone crazy, they're talking to themselves. No, they're not. They have teammates, don't worry. It's okay. They're saying, well, at least I think they are anyway. Whirlwind comes through, and that will be, as you said, the big bad wolf coming out. And Dirty Rat will be played, and it pulls the Black Knight as well. They would have definitely not have been considering that as an option, but they are rewarded for a very, very risky play.
And you were saying it. You say that that's a play they might go for. And I was saying, no, Gaskin, you are one crazy person. And they went for it, and it paid off. Black Knight. It's still a 4-5, though, and it's cost them no mana.
It is still a 4-5, but that was a minion that would have had a fantastic chance to remove something like a Primordial Drake that could have been just cleanly wiped off the board. Belgium would not have been expecting to see the Black Knight drawn off Dirty Rat.
No.
I'm 99% sure.
The look of thinking, was that good for us? I guess it was, but we've just given them a 4-5 for nothing, so it wasn't great.
They would have been like kind of going through, well, what could we pull here? Maybe we could get the Tundra Rhino, maybe it could be a Savannah Highmane, and then it happens and they're like, oh, well, we weren't really expecting that, but I guess it's a good thing.
Purple will be working out not only whether to use this Eaglehorn bow here, but also to work out when the Tundra Rhino gets played. Probably just going to curve through, but also the option to play your Highmane first and then play the Rhino and use the 2/2s. But probably just going to curve through. But these are things that they're looking about now before it comes up.
So Ravaging Ghoul plus Sleep with the Fishes is always a fantastic combo to go with. I don't think it's necessary now, of course, but at least it's in hand in case this board gets a little bit too threatening. Of course, they could do it if they really wanted to clear the board right this second, but alternatively could just go for Direhorn Hatchling here. Execute, I doubt, is going to be used in this situation. So it seems like those are your 2 options.
Yeah, playing the Hatchling is what they're going to do. Keeping back that combo, but obviously with the double Sleep of the Fishes is the thing they can possibly do later to get rid of some big stuff, and this is a welcome pickup. Probably see this and then they'll take a view, although, again, as always, Highmane is a pretty good card.
Of course. This is a tough one for me. I've been in this situation a few times where you really want to just coin out that Highmane because it's so powerful, but you know that you could get something crazy out of Jewel Macaw as well. It's just a tough decision.
And it doesn't even have to be something crazy. It can just pick up a 3/3 of some sort, or a 4/4, and all those mid-range minions it can pick up are probably better than just dumping 1 card on the table right now. Just go wide, force your opponents to use up their Brawl or their Ravaging Ghoul plus their Sleep the Fishes, then dump a Highmane on them and say, got ya.
So do you use it in conjunction with Tundra Rhino?
It probably depends what gets picked up, but looks like they aren't going to go that route. They're just going to play the Rhino and get on with it. This is absolutely fine, of course. This is really difficult to deal with. And again, if you're using resources to deal with these, you're not dealing with the next turn. And if you don't deal with these, then you're really not dealing with the next turn.
Yeah, I guess they could have coined out the Jewel Macaw, but then you're possibly going into an emergency brawl situation. Instead, Ravaging Ghoul versus Sleep plus Sleep with the Fishes could be used. Instead, they're actually going to go down the execute route. And they will
prioritizing that Rhino. You just can't let it live. That's why it's such a great minion, because it doesn't really threaten anything on its own, but you have to kill it, and that just makes way for this Highmane to be menacing.
Yeah, if they hadn't got rid of the Rhino, of course, it would have been very detrimental to them, so very wise and probably an easy decision to make, to be honest.
Now they've got that coin, they can do the Macaw play, see what it looks like. Oh, 2014.
They were the days, eh, Neil? Back in my day. You say that a lot.
Do I?
Yeah.
Wow.
To the young kids down your street when they kick the ball over the fence and you pop it before you give it back.
Yeah.
Kind of old man you are.
Shouldn't throw the ball over my fence.
No, they shouldn't indeed. Pesky old kids.
Little kids.
So now we've got the option of executing just to make them 2/2s, or you can use Sleep with the Fishes as well, because you have both of them available. Seems like Sleep with the Fishes seems like the optimal play, to be honest, just keeping that execute in case there is any massive threatening minions that you have to worry about. Of course, with Jewel Macaw being played, you never know what could come out of the hand of Canada.
This is getting annoying to deal with. You don't really want to use your kill command here, but
You know what would have been
have
good
to.
here? Black Knight.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it have been good? If that High Maid had come down instead of the Black Knight off that, how different this may have been.
Would have been a very different game. So no options. You could kill command, use the Jordan McCord just to clear off this 2-6 nice and comfortably. Put 4 damage into face. Perhaps play the Animal Companion first in case that's going to be an extra 2 damage from Leok. Maybe that seems pretty good, actually. I've talked myself into it. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah? You feeling me? Not literally, of course.
It seems okay.
Okay, great.
Of course, Huffer's good as well. 4/4 taunt isn't bad. Misha.
I guess, are you over-committing to the board? No.
Yeah, you're a little bit scared of Brawl, but this works fine. Going to sneak some damage through.
So I guess that they don't need to go for kill command here if they don't want to.
They
have
don't, but they can choose to because it would force the Huffer through. But yeah, this seems the better play. It allows them to get hero power in.
It means that they can keep the kill command for later in case any big old taunt comes down that they can't remove.
Right.
But they've managed to chip away at that, at the Warriors' life total.
But bad things are going to start happening very soon.
This is the thing. The Drake is going to be almost impossible to get through for the Hunters. Hyman is a really important pickup, however, though. That is something that can help deal with this 4-8 that is on board. And they can continue, of course, to use that hero power just to keep knocking on that door, on that Warrior's door. They don't want to open it. They want to keep armoring up. They want to get out of range of this Hunter. And I like the trade as well. Just
And
to
this is
make
why the
sure.
Black Knight is put in this deck, because the Hunter is not that great against Warrior anymore, and the Black Knight's meant to swing the balance, but yeah, it didn't.
It didn't get to swing at all. Instead, the Dirty Rat pulled it out.
Ali Armor Smith looks incredibly tempting here, but they can't play it this turn because they want to arm up every single time. I mean, they can play it this turn, but they probably won't. Unless
Because
they
you're worried
feel
about-
safe because you're worried about getting double kill command.
Yep. Exactly. They are worried about it.
And they should be, because one would win the game here.
But it's not going to be drawn. Houndmaster, of course, can buff up Jaime to be a very dangerous minion.
Not only that, but it will only take down the Armor Smith in one hit, so it's not only an 8/7, it's an 8/7 that's kind of doing an extra 2. It's kind of a 10/7. It is going to get executed most likely, and then a Drake will clear up the rest of the board, though.
I mean, if that had been another kill command, that would have been absolutely huge for Canada, and they know it as well. They
Yeah, they
knew
had a
that
draw
was
to
possible
win the game.
and that it could end up being the only draw that they have to win the game. To be honest,
Well, they might get another one if this next turn is execute Primordial Drake, which looks like a good, clean turn.
it does look like a clean turn, and it's how risky Belgium want to be, because Belgium would have known it as well. They would have known full
Right.
well that could have been a possibility.
Yeah, so they may look for a different way to do this. It involves armoring up as well. And they almost certainly will look for another way to do it, in fact. I think you always start with the execute, though.
So I guess you could execute and then just Ali Armor Smith armor up.
Let's see. Oh, this time it's different because there won't be a beast left on the board.
Yes, you are completely right. And of course, Diving Buzzard can't be played in conjunction because the mana is not there. However, Infested Wolf will now be put on the board, which is a beast. And I guess Canada have to make the decision now. Do we use the kill command to remove anything? And that's
No.
always...
I mean, this 10 is not getting bigger than 10 for the rest of the game. If you press your button every single turn, the Warrior cannot get out of range, so doing it now to be mana efficient so that the Buzzard into another kill command would just win the game in some circumstances now. And Belgium do have to kill Canada before that card comes up. And with Starving Buzzard, maybe they draw some more cards to get there quicker as well.
Starving Buzzard manages to win a game in 2017.
Yeah?
I've seen it all.
Have you?
No, I definitely haven't. I think there's so much more to see with how the Unguro meta is developing, to be honest.
So
I don't
Canada
think
are
it's quite
still in this. I mean, no, I don't think it's quite there, which is great, right? We're 3 or 4 weeks into a meta, and we still haven't got anywhere near solving it, I don't think. A lot of the decks are still in massive flux.
It's not a kill command, Neil.
Okay, here we go. It still could be. This play was set up last turn.
Still not a kill command, Neil.
Could they there have adapted to try and... No, the plants aren't beasts. Don't worry about me.
It's okay. I like the thought. Plants should be beast. There's the kill
It's the
command.
kill command.
They get the kill command. It's absolutely massive.
Oh my goodness, and purple turns into Smirkle as they go to 2-0, finding a way to set it up with the Wolf into the Buzzard, into drawing loads of cards, into playing another beast, into kill command.
Starving Buzzard was the MVP. Who'd have thunk it? The Black Knight didn't come into play, but Starving Buzzard did.
Who needs the Black Knight?
Absolutely spectacular game and played perfectly, just saving that Buzzard just for the right time. And they had, what, did they have 3 or 4 draws there to get the kill command? I mean, it was
They got
pretty
an
good
extra
odds.
3 chance, plus their top deck, that was 4. Yeah, it was absolutely incredibly well worked out there. And suddenly Canada are 2-0 ahead. And it's going to be Cydonia versus Maverick, 2 of the big names in Hearthstone. 2 more of the big names in Hearthstone, because we're saying that a lot today. These teams have been very stacked throughout today.
Oh yeah, there's been some phenomenal players. So it's going to be the Rogue for Maverick and the Warrior for Cydonia. Now I'm just looking at the kind of... I spoke earlier and I said how much Cydonia has done. Yes, okay, he came first in the 2016 HCT Americas
Yeah, that was
Spring.
massive as well. That was his breakthrough performance.
But then
really.
he came top 8 in the 2016 Hearthstone World Championships. He came top 64 in the 2017 Americas Winter. So he's always been there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So a fantastic replacement for APX.
Yeah, some of the players who get to the championship events and do well, some of them you don't see again, but Cydonia is one where everyone goes, well, we don't know this guy, but he played well, let's keep an eye on him. Well, we didn't need to keep an eye on him because he just kept appearing and winning stuff and doing well in stuff, so not really a problem for him.
Now, on the other side, for Maverick, I mean, he's not been scared of entering these tournaments as well. He finished top 8 at DreamHack Summer 2016 and top 8 in the 2015 Hearthstone World Championship. So definitely a player that they can't overlook here. Of course, you can't really consider yourself playing against one player in this competition.
Right.
You need to be thinking they've got plenty of players backing them up, but Maverick is certainly one of the players on the Belgium squad that has a lot of achievements behind him.
Yeah, very much so. So I think we heard earlier that basically Janetsky was saying, you know, the driver sometimes has the final say when the rope starts going, and so that's the only difference it really makes in this event.
So Rogue versus Warrior, we'd expect Quest Rogue, do you think, coming out?
Yeah,
Maverick?
actually, I say yeah. I think we've seen far more Miracle than Quest, but I still expect Quest.
I think everyone
kind of
expects
stupid of
Quest.
me.
I mean, even when you're on ladder, you expect
And
Quest.
then it just depends what the Warrior is. It's one of those matchups that, unfortunately, when you're talking about the matchups, it really is a flip. If it's the Pirates, then the Pirates is a big favourite, especially against the Quest. If it's not the Pirates, then the Rogue is fine.
Well, here we go. Let's have a look at the players, Maverick and Cydonia, as we have been speaking about over the past few minutes. Cydonia, of course, he's stepping up to the plate here. We've had a few players doing it today, or a couple of players doing it today. They're stepping in for... Some have been stepping in for the rankers, but Cydonia is just stepping in for the replacement of APX Void. Is that a lot of pressure that's going to be on your shoulders? The fact that you're going to have to play 2 games rather than just your typical one?
I think so if you're one of the smaller players. I don't think it will phase Cydonia at all. In fact, they probably just said, look, who wants to do it? And Cydonia probably said, I'll do it. I'm fine.
Just volunteers.
yeah, I'm
nice and easy.
good doing that. Who cares?
Yeah, I think you've got to have a player that is capable of doing that as well. If this is a situation that may arise, if players can inform, if they can't make it, and someone does have to step up, you need to be confident that players on your team can just step to the plate when it matters. And it seems like Cydonia is doing well. We didn't see the same situation in earlier games, but now he has a chance to finish this off. And if it's a 3-0 to Canada, they'll be 2-0 in their league table. Of course, Belgium haven't played anything yet, so Canada weren't able to get any sort of read. It's something that teams have been using to their advantage. They've been looking at past broadcasts, seeing what decks people have been playing, but Canada haven't had that opportunity, and yet they are still absolutely dominating this matchup. As we move into game number 3, and it is going to be the Caverns Rogue versus the Pirate Warrior.
Well, that could be a quick one. The Pirates has got a very, very, very good chance here. Talking, by the way, of people who couldn't make it, where were you yesterday?
Yesterday, I was in a hotel.
How about the day before?
Day before, I was still on my honeymoon.
Right. American girl, yeah?
Yeah.
You changed teams quick
I
after we lost?
Yeah, I did, yeah. As soon as the UK lost to USA in week number 1, I was like...
It's like, I'm
yeah,
off!
I'm marrying an American girl.
Watch out
changing
tonight.
my
If you
nationality.
live in Romania and you're female and Romania win, we'll have another team switch.
I'm not sure how my wife would feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, she may be quite angry.
We won't tell her, it's
So
fine.
yeah, don't switch teams again.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Rachel.
We'll move in.
Right,
and-
moving swiftly on.
Moving swiftly on. The, I mean, the quest is going to come down, right? Turn 1. for Belgium.
Yeah, it's not like the Warrior where you can get rid of the quest. You kind of don't win if you get rid of the quest in Rogue. You've got a bunch of 0-1s and, well, 1-1s. Yeah.
So, you said that this should favour the Pirate Warrior. I'm looking at that mulligan from the Pirate Warrior, and that is not fantastic. I mean,
It's like the worst Warrior hand you can get, almost.
If they had double Arcanite Reaper rather than the one Fire Warrior, maybe that would be worst. Is it still winnable from this situation for Canada, though?
It definitely is. I mean, just imagine if the next draw is any
pirate.
Warrior card,
some sort of
a
pirate card.
Suddenly those double captains can start piling on the damage, and Belgium will not necessarily know what they're up against here, because the Warrior would probably mulligan away the quest against a random rogue. It might
there's another pirate.
Actually.
It's the Bloodsail Raider. Will, of course, draw out patches as well. There isn't many of the kind of return functions in the hand of Maverick. Does have one Ferryman, but that is it. A Shadow Step would be absolutely fantastic, or even a Brewmaster, because realistically, they need to get this quest completed very soon if they are going to have any chance winning this matchup.
Yes, and you can see Sidonia is really thinking really hard here, because maybe the War Axe isn't the right play, which is really odd. Maybe just getting the Raider down and then buffing it with a Captain, then playing another Captain. It's an unusual situation where the War Axe isn't possibly the best play, and yeah, let's just play the War Axe and make a massive Bloodsail Raider. Makes more sense this way, but definitely worth a look, because this is really in the way of your curve.
Yep, definitely worth considering. Mimic Pod now for Belgium and Maverick. Is there any world where you coin out the Mimic Pod? If you were to pick up something like a Shadow Step, then that would be phenomenal.
Don't forget you can still pick it up next turn anyway and still keep the coin back. It may be that you want to keep the coin for Vanish later to reset some of this pirate nonsense if the pirates do start getting on board. Or you may just coin out the Mimic Pod and try and hit the jackpot immediately, but feel that they probably just start making headway towards the quest. Part of that is by playing the quest.
Yeah, I think playing the quest is probably important here, and they can play a Flame Elemental as well alongside it. It probably won't be the card that they're going to go for to try and complete the quest, but it also means that Canada have to consider killing that Flame Elemental, because if they leave it alive, it could be something that Belgium and Maverick do decide to just toss back and forth between their hand.
And they do exactly that. They're keeping the Wisp back, because even though it's infinite value, or 1/1 with no mana, you can't afford to have all of your activators for your quest killed off.
Relatively simple turn now for Canada. In what you're playing from your hand, you'd like to think it's going to be the Bloodsail Raider. The big decision is whether you trade off and kill this elemental, to be honest. For exactly the reason why I just said. Are you worried about it being used as a return mechanic?
Right, and if you do that, you've got to think what is your next turn, and your next turn might be War Axe Raider, in which case you might play the Captain. Even though the immediate reward is less, the fact it fills out your curve and allows you to play more things by turn 5 or 6 could be more.
So the Captain looks like the decision for Canada. Just leaving that Raider. Do you think they trade here? Would you trade? I think I would trade.
Some versions of Rogue still run Backstab, and you don't want this to get backstabbed and traded into, so I think I would probably bump into it with Patches.
Yeah, that helps. Just a Patches is nice and easy. That's one of the situations where, because no pirates have been played by turn 3, I completely forgot Patches was even going to come out of the deck.
You're one of the guys who go to Hearthstone replay and just check everything out. It's like 0.5% of legends forget to attack with Patches.
Because
that's you, isn't it?
No, it's not me, because I always get pirates on turn 1, because I'm fortunate. So Patches always comes out. It's absolutely fine. By turn 3,
it's always in my hand.
If I've not played any pirates by turn 3, I've probably conceded, but it's fine. Canada are in a very strong position still. Glacial Shard comes out for Belgium.
And we saw a match yesterday where I think it was yesterday, everything feels like yesterday now, where Glacial Shard just kept freezing the entire board until it won the quest. It was just Glacial Shard, get Glacial Shard off Mimic Pod, Glacial Shard something else, vanish, play Glacial Shard. It was disgusting.
Did it win the game?
Yeah, it just... Oddly enough, when your opponent can't attack you at all, Glacial Shard is pretty strong.
It's an amazing inclusion into the Quest Rogue deck that some people took out for a while and then it's been added back in, and...
It's like the world's slowest blizzard.
Yeah.
Just independent.
But even a slow blizzard hurts. Sometimes a slow blizzard hurts more, to be honest. At least if it's a fast blizzard, it's painless and it's over quickly.
Just looking at these cards, I still can't quite get over the fact this is a Hearthstone deck. If you show me these cards and just show me the names a year ago and didn't tell me what they all did, I'd be like, why are all these things in this deck?
The Barthen Tidehunter was one of the most interesting inclusions.
Right.
That wasn't there immediately. It
Right.
kind of worked its way in about a week into the Unguro meta,
Maybe
I think.
more. Yeah, I think people started trying it and still weren't sure for quite a while.
Because someone just obviously went, oh wait, I can just summon a 5/5 taunt after I've already completed this
Yeah,
quest.
my weakness is aggro decks. I know, I can have a 5/5 taunt.
Someone must
Yeah.
have just sat there looking through all the cards and go, oh, that will work, and it's cheap. And
And
now
they were right.
they were very right, and now it is just a pretty much a definite inclusion into the Quest Rogue deck. But on to the matter of hand for Canada. They
We
need to
still haven't
decide-
done any damage
That's
in
the
this
thing.
aggressive deck.
We said that Belgium needed to complete their quest very quickly. But they've been allowed a little bit of time to get going. They haven't found their return mechanics just yet, though.
No, and there goes yet another option. Obviously, the Glacial Shard is the one they're nominating to do the quest with. But they've used 2 return mechanics and not got anywhere yet. And suddenly the Pirates, through very careful thought, have got themselves into a good position.
I think this is Mimic Pod or bust.
Yeah.
This is the situation where you're looking at a very scary board, and you're thinking if we don't get something like a Shadow Step, even a Brewmaster would be nice for a following.
There aren't
but
many bad picks off the Mimic Pod the way the deck is built now. Vanish would be pretty bad, but that's about it. Maybe Preparation would be pretty bad.
I mean, another Tidehunter, I guess, wouldn't be amazing because it would be pretty slow to complete the quest.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few things that wouldn't be optimal, but there are perhaps more things that could be very interesting.
And they
for
haven't
Belgium.
got a good-looking turn anyway, so feels like now's a good time to play it.
And I think that's the discussion that's being had at the moment between the Belgians. I think I saw Maverick instantly mutter the words Mimic Pod within the first few seconds of their turn. It's going to come down, and
And you called it.
that's weird. The Tidehunter will come through. Of course, it means that they can play 3 Tidehunters. If they were to pick up 1 Shallow Step, they may be able to make things work, but it might just be a little bit too late.
Yeah, now they're going to have to use this shard to start freezing things, and that is not good at all from where Belgium are sat right now. And again, being very careful with this Pirate Warrior deck. It does get a little bit of unfair press as to how easy it is to play, because it most certainly isn't easy.
And no, it's not. No aggro deck ever is easy, and I think that's always been the situation. But it does help when you draw Endorph's First Mate and allows you to just trade so easily and keep your whole board alive and make it a very scary board to deal with.
Yeah, what Canada did really well is realise how much these captains were actually just going to take over the game. And so, I mean, it's only turn 5 and they've got probably lethal, if I could count.
Yeah, they have lethal next turn.
So they managed to get lethal on turn 6 set up anyway, despite the fact that, I mean, it's not going to be lethal. We have seen there is Tidehunters galore about to happen here, by the way, and there's going to be 4 taunt minions on the board, and this is not over. But the Warrior managed to come back from what looked like a terrible start into having their own quest, which is just keep 2 captains on the board.
It does mean that they are going to complete this quest,
I know.
and they do have 4 taunt minions, but there is, of course, ways for Cydonia and Canada here to deal with those taunt minions, but it's can they deal with the whole board? Because realistically, they need to. Otherwise, it's all going to spiral out of control here.
Can they look after these captains? Because some of these minions are gigantic because of it. This is going to be pretty close. Now then. Obviously... Oh my goodness, that's a minion that's going to hurt.
So you drop the Berserker first, and then you just trade everything else into 1/1s. You use your high health minions to get rid of the 2/1s so that they stay alive as well, and you're in a very comfortable spot still. I think...
How big's the frothing Berserker going to be? Go.
Yeah, I wish I could calculate that quickly. Feel free to do it at home if you want.
I think it might be in the region of 13.
Well, we'll see.
I think there's
Top of your
5
head, how
trades, which makes
accurate you
it
are.
2, which is 10, plus the one from your face is 11. I think it might be a 13-4, but I don't want to be held to that, because I just have to have a guess now, because I put you on the spot and you bailed.
Well, I guess it depends how many minions Canada decide to trade into as well. It's how many they deem worthy of being threatened.
I think they need to kill them all to defend their 13-4 frothing Berserker.
But I mean, even if they don't, like, they've got plenty of damage on board that I'm not really sure Belgium has much of an out when it comes to this situation. Right. Because, I mean, they can't kill them all.
Well, Belgium, what would be scared here? Cydonia will be scared of maybe Boar, and Shadow Step being the other 2 cards in hand, which would be another 10 damage.
Hey, it's a 13 attack Froth and Berserker.
Yeah, look at me
How good
go.
do you feel right now?
Pretty good.
That's always good.
Unfortunately, the Crystal Core is going to come down and kill that off, but is it lethal then? It's 6, 9, there's loads of damage. It's super lethal with Arcanite Reaper.
Unfortunately, no weapon equipped as well, so Deckhand isn't going to be a 5/5 charge either. I think even if it did come into play, it still would have been a pretty sticky situation. And it does mean that Canada are going to sweep this one 3-0, and they will go 2-0 in their group, and it means they have won 3-0 twice now, so they are 6-0 in games. We were talking about how USA seems to be a threatening force. I think that Canada could be a team to look out for as well.
So all of North America dominating Hearthstone Global Games at this stage. This a very early stage, by the way. So plenty of time for the other nations, like the United Kingdom, to come back. For those of us who are still United Kingdom people.
It's actually 1 off.
Is it?
Yeah, 2 off maybe.
Okay.
So they're not quite out of the woods. I mean, I think they are. But
yeah, the woods are looking pretty sparse at the other end.
yeah, they are some very sparse of woods.
The Dread Corsair can be played as well, which is going to be also pretty big. But we are going to look mega silly if this somehow goes wrong.
If we get, I mean, there's nothing that could go wrong. I was trying to think something crazy like a boar into a shadow step into a, but they haven't really got the possibility.
Mimic pod into. You can't even go Mimic pod into Mimic pod anymore.
Nope, not going to happen. Belgium will, of course, just see what they can do. And the concede comes through, and eventually Canada do get the 3-0 sweep that we were speaking of as we finally reach an end of the series. And compared to the last series, Neil, that was a very quick one.
That was indeed probably the 2 most disparate times of series I've ever cast back to back. And thrashing there from Canada.
Oh, absolutely. And I think they've made a statement there. Because, as I said, a lot of people have been talking about how USA are the dominant force and we need to watch out for them. And Canada are going to be saying, like, Canada are the brothers of America, really. They're going to say, hey, we don't want to be behind the USA. We want to be the top dogs here. And by smashing another 3-0 onto the board, they have certainly said, yep, we're up there, we can play. And maybe when it comes to the finals in a few months' time or in a couple of months' time, perhaps we'll see USA versus Canada.
That'd be a big final for a lot of people out there.
Did you think there was anything that could have gone differently on the opposite side?
I mean,
for
that
Belgium?
Hunter game, for instance, if Canada hadn't planned so well with the buzzard, that's a thing that definitely, it wasn't Belgium's fault. It was Canada's good play, but that was a thing we're actually going to talk to somebody.
Yeah, let's have a little chat with Sidonia from the Canadian team. Sidonia, are you there? Can you hear me, my friend?
Hey, I can hear you.
Great.
I guess I'll get out of the Discord, guys, so talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, leave them behind. We only want to chat to you for now. A fantastic performance, and congratulations to you on winning that one. I mean, it was a relatively quick and easy sweep. Were you expecting it to be perhaps a little bit tougher, or had you planned so well that you thought you were going to be able to kind of blow them out of the water?
Yeah, we expected a really tough match, but I guess when I saw like the queue order we had and the queue order they had, like we would have like the way we prepared our decks, we just lined up a bunch of favorables. So I guess we got pretty fortunate there. And yeah, we prepared a good lineup and we drew well enough so we could win.
And how did you feel when you won that Hunter match, having lost the Black Knight earlier, but finding a way to make the Buzzard work for you to draw into that kill command?
That felt pretty good. That was a cool combo there, like an old school Buzzard combo. And yeah, drawing till command there, like the last possible cards, making it dramatic for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I got very excited. Okay, and how much responsibility was on your shoulders, obviously taking that extra spot with APX Void not able to play today? Did you feel that there was a lot of responsibility for you?
Well, I didn't play last game, last week, so I had to play this week. And APX Void was on the call with us from the airport, so he couldn't like physically set up like properly with the cam and everything, but he's waiting for his plane and he was helping us. So we were all, the whole team participated.
Excellent.
Well, I'm glad it was able to all work out in the end. Congratulations again and good luck in the rest of your games throughout the tournament.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice and simple. Nice and quick breeze 3-0 through. and we can move on to the final match of the day. But for the fact that Canada were able to pull out such a successful victory with just 3 players does say that you don't need all 4 of them necessarily playing. Just having them in a call, like he said, can really help out.
Yeah, Apex Void probably wasn't doing the full amount of work there, but definitely somebody who you want to have any input you can get from, because he's a guy who's hovering around top 100 legend and playing decks that he knows he is only testing because he's in no hurry to pick up point. He's still chilling in top 100 legend a lot of the time, even with test decks.
And even though it was a 3-0, it's definitely a hard-fought 3-0, okay? Yes, that last game was a bit of a blowout and is a very quick one, but we look back at some of the highlights of this series, and just this game in general was long and it was drawn out because Canada were just trying to get to that finishing point, and in the end it was the Abomination that they drew from the Stonehill defender that was able to finish.
Who needs eye for an eye when you can play Abomination into Doomsayer?
And then with the Hunter game, as you asked him as well, it could have been so different with the fact that the Dirty Rat was able to pull the Black Knight. We thought was going to be a turning point.
Yes.
We thought this was going to be game over, but Canada played perfectly to the outs. The Starving Buzzard that they received from the Dual McCall ended up being the MVP, to be honest, and they were able to get so many draws using the Crackling Razor.
Infested Wolf setup that was ignored and such like, and yeah, last card.
And I guess that's what Ungoro has introduced. Because we're still, I mean, let's be honest, we're still fresh in this meta. It's only been a few weeks, and people still don't know what they have to play around, and there's so many cards now that can put cards into your deck that you wouldn't expect to be there from things like Stonehill Defender and Discover Mechanics. It's so difficult to go for an optimal play that you don't think is going to be too risky.
But also, what seems to be different with a lot of the mechanics recently compared to previous times is, although the cards are often different and you have to think your way out, it doesn't seem to be like many of them are, hey, you either get this 1-drop or you get this 10-drop and that changes the game. It's always, oh, how do I use this card in this? Everything that's thrown out of, almost everything that's thrown out of the random effects actually is really thought-provoking.
Well, Group F, there is the updated standings. Canada sitting pretty at the top, 2-0 and a game record of 6-0. Absolutely fantastic. Then Kazakhstan, which we witnessed earlier, sat at the bottom, being 0-2. So they really need to turn around their group, to be honest, if they want any chance of moving forward into Phase 2. Next up, though, Neil, we have UK versus Romania. Any initial thoughts from you before we head to the next match?
Well, at one point it looked like RDU wasn't going to be able to make it today, and he can. And he has said that, I asked him, like, what would you like to say to your team if you can't make it? And basically he's going to have 3 of the team in his room or in his house to help out, and then he's going to dash off and catch a plane after he finishes the match. Meanwhile, I think Green Sheep is doing similar for the UK. So these guys really want to win this one. And any thoughts? I'm just going to leave that to the impartial casters.
Well, Canada will win 3-0, but next up we have UK versus Romania, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back very shortly.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ungoro Crater.